Why did God bless Libra with these 5 gifts? Have you ever noticed that no one really explains why Libra received so much? The easy charm, the good taste, that way of resolving arguments that doesn't even seem like an effort? We've always called it luck. But what if it's not luck at all? What if each of these gifts was born from a painful place and no one has ever told you that? Today, I'm going to show you the 5 gifts that God gave to Libra. And the real reason. The reason no one talks about. Behind each one. Some will seem too familiar. Others will hurt in a way you didn't expect. By the end of this video, something inside you will make sense in a way it never has before. Stay with me until the end, because the 5th gift changes everything you thought you knew about the other 4. There's something strange about being blessed. Nobody tells you that gifts also come at a cost. You look at a Libra and think, born lucky, born easy, born knowing how to deal with people. But nobody asks the price. Nobody asks what it cost that person to learn to balance the whole world while their own world was swaying inside. I want to show you 5 gifts that God placed in Libra, not in the pretty way everyone has already told. The real way. Because each of these gifts was born from something that hurt before becoming a gift. And look how interesting, the very image representing Libra reveals this truth. It's not a person, it's not an animal, it's not a mythical figure full of power. It's a scale, an object whose sole function is to feel the weight of everything placed on it, on both sides simultaneously, without ever being able to choose to ignore either. No other sign carries a symbol as silently heavy as this one. And perhaps that's exactly where the real explanation of each gift you're about to discover begins. The first is justice, that instinct to correct what is wrong even before someone asks for help. You've probably seen this. A Libra enters a tense room and effortlessly the temperature changes. They can't even explain how they do it. They just do it. But this instinct wasn't born in a tranquil place. It was born at some point, sometimes very early, when this person saw something unjust happen and couldn't do anything. And they decided, right there without words, that they would never again stand by and watch imbalance prevail. The gift of justice in Libra isn't philosophy, it's memory. It's the attempt to fix, in the outside world, what you couldn't fix inside. Imagine a child who learned very early on that disagreeing loudly was costly, that staying quiet was safer than pointing out the mistake in front of everyone. This child grows up, and the silence of before becomes, years later, an almost supernatural sensitivity to perceive when something is out of place in a room, in a relationship, in a conversation. They no longer need to be silent, but the habit of observing every detail of the environment, that remained. It stuck. It became instinct. And it is this instinct that everyone calls a sense of justice, without imagining where it really came from. And there's a question that bothers me. Why is correcting others always easier than correcting my own pain? Notice how Libra never hesitates to point out someone else's imbalance, but takes years to admit their own. That's the first gift, doing what it knows how to do, looking outward with mastery, so as not to have to look inward. And this leads us directly to the second gift, the most visible of all, the one everyone praises without understanding. The charm. That easy way about them, that flowing conversation, that ability to lighten any atmosphere. People think Libras are born knowing how to please. But charm isn't a free gift. It's a learned tool, acquired early on by those who felt they were only kept around when they were being agreeable. There's a door in Libra that's always ajar, never fully closed, because that would seem like rejection. Never fully open, because that would seem like exposure. Ajar in the perfect middle ground, practiced, rehearsed, so that no one ever sees what's on the other side. Notice how Libra manages to maintain a light conversation, even when inside they are crumbling. This isn't coldness, it's technique. a technique learned early on, at some point when showing genuine discomfort didn't bring acceptance, but distance. So charm became the standard disguise, the right joke at the right time, the compliment that disarms any bad atmosphere, the way to soften even harsh criticism. All of this is architecture, not pure spontaneity. And like any well-constructed architecture, it works so well that even Libra themselves sometimes forget that it's a construction and not their whole truth. And here's where things get really uncomfortable. What exactly is Libra protecting when it smiles at someone who has hurt it? Why does the charm remain on, even when the heart should already be on alert? Because turning off the charm, for Libra, feels like turning off its own security. And nobody turns off something they've learned to use to survive. There's a third gift that's often mistaken for wisdom, the ability to see both sides of any situation. Have you ever noticed how a Libra almost never chooses a side too quickly? They weigh, consider, and understand the point of view of both the person who erred and the person who was hurt simultaneously with the same intensity. Everyone calls this emotional maturity, and perhaps it is. But there's another, quieter explanation hidden behind this supposed wisdom. Because seeing both sides can also be a refined way to postpone a painful choice. If Libra never makes a final decision, it never has to bear the weight of having chosen wrongly. You never have to risk losing someone because of a position. And then there's that unsettling question hanging in the air, one we haven't yet answered. What if this seemingly elevated gift is actually Libra's oldest fear, only disguised as balance? This question is hard to shake, isn't it? Because it's not just about Libra, it's about you, who perhaps also confuses patience with paralysis and wisdom with fear of making choices. It was in seeking answers to these reflections that the digital book, The Divine Wisdom, that guides your zodiac sign to a life with purpose, was born. More than just a simple read, it brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises to help you understand patterns, develop a more conscious attitude, and cultivate a stronger mindset in the face of difficulties. Many people have already begun this journey of self-discovery and found a new way to look at their challenges. Now it's your turn. Access to the digital book is available in the first pinned comment. Don't delay the opportunity to learn a perspective that can transform how you face spiritual envy, strengthen your energy, and continue your journey with more clarity. Click now and discover how the divine wisdom that guides your zodiac sign to a purposeful life can become a guide to a more conscious, balanced, and resilient life. Think of this book not as reading material, but as a stance. As the tool that helps you find true balance, the kind that doesn't depend on pleasing anyone, to stop losing yourself chasing after the harmony of others, something every Libra recognizes even before finishing reading this sentence. If you've made it this far, it's because something in this video has already touched you in a way you didn't expect. You're still processing it, still recognizing patterns in your own words, and this discomfort you feel now is exactly the sign that it's time to act, not later, not when there's time, now while the penny is still dropping. The link is in the first pinned comment. But be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. Meanwhile, tell me in the comments, which of these first two gifts weighs more heavily on you, the justice that corrects others, or the charm that protects from within? Getting back to what matters. This third gift, the ability to see both sides, has a side effect that almost no one notices. Those who see everything so clearly also feel everything with double the intensity. Empathy, which seems like a gift, sometimes becomes a burden no one asked to carry. Think about how many times a Libra has spent hours agonizing over a simple decision, not because of a lack of information, but because each side of the story pulled towards a different feeling, and choosing one meant, in some way, betraying the other. This is exhausting in a way that isn't visible on the outside. No one sees the invisible effort of holding on to two truths at the same time without letting either fall. And over time, this effort becomes a pattern. Postponing, 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 until life decides for Libra, because Libra itself couldn't manage it. And it is precisely there, in this excess of feeling for others, that the fourth gift is born. The hunger for beauty. Observe how Libra calms down around beauty. A tidy house, clothes that fit well, a balanced environment. It's not vanity, it's emotional regulation disguised as good taste. When the outside world is organized, something inside breathes easier, even if only for a moment. Some people tidy up the whole house in one night when their soul is a complete mess. This isn't fussiness. It's the only language Libra has found to say "I need order" without having to admit aloud that they are in chaos. And the question that remains is simple and cruel at the same time. What exactly is beauty trying to distract Libra from? Because every time someone compulsively organizes their surroundings, it's usually because they don't know how to organize their feelings. Aesthetics become anesthesia. Beautiful, elegant, socially accepted, but anesthesia nonetheless. And there's a curious detail about this. Libra rarely seeks beauty to show off. They seek beauty to calm themselves. It's different. It's one thing to tidy up the house to impress visitors. It's quite another to tidy up the house at 11 o'clock at night alone, because the silence of the messy environment was becoming too loud inside their head. Notice that the moments when Libra dedicates themselves most to making something beautiful usually coincide, without exception, with the moments when something inside is most confused. Beauty is not vanity. It's the most elegant version that Libra has found of screaming in silence. And this leads to the fifth gift, perhaps the most silent, the most thankless of all, the ability to unite what is separated. Have you ever seen a Libra reconcile two feuding friends, bring estranged families closer, find a meeting point where no one else saw a way out? It's a rare talent. Few people can listen to two wounded sides at the same time, without taking sides and without losing patience with either. This requires an emotional generosity that most people can't even imagine the extent of. But notice something. Those who build bridges live on them. They don't live on either side. They are summoned when there's a fight, applauded when they resolve it, and forgotten as soon as peace returns. Nobody asks the person who built the bridge if they are also tired of serving as a passage for others. It serves for everyone to cross, but they are rarely invited to stay. And the question remains, one that nobody asks: who takes care of those who spend their lives taking care of the peace of others? This gift of uniting people is too costly to be ignored. And it is about this cost, about the loneliness of those who maintain the balance of others without ever receiving the same care in return, that the digital book, the divine wisdom that guides your zodiac sign towards a purposeful life, becomes so necessary. It brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises designed precisely for those who have always cared for everyone else's harmony except their own. A practical extension for those who, like Libra, need to learn to cross their own bridge from time to time. Think about how many times you've been someone's point of balance and no one asked who was balancing you. That's what the book is about. Inner beauty that doesn't depend on approval, balance that can't sustain itself forever. Promotional access units are running out and the content may be taken offline at any time. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. And now, putting all five together, something becomes impossible to ignore. Justice was born from an injustice felt too early. Charm was born from the fear of being left out. The ability to see both sides was born from the fear of choosing wrong. The pursuit of beauty was born from the attempt to organize a chaos that no one saw, and the capacity to unite people was born from the loneliness of someone who was never sure of their own place. 5 gifts, 5 wounds dressed in talent. And here is the paradox that astrology rarely dares to say aloud. This does not diminish the gift. A pearl only exists because a wound has been covered layer by layer until it becomes a sparkle. The process that hurts is the same process that generates beauty. One cannot exist without the other. And this completely changes the way we look at Libra and anyone who possesses similar gifts, because the question stops being, why is this person so good at this, and becomes, what did this person have to go through to become so good at this? Libra's sense of justice doesn't come from an ethics manual. It comes from a time when no one was fair to them. Their charm doesn't come from a social skills course. It comes from an old fear of being left out. Their ability to see both sides doesn't come from wisdom acquired from books. It comes from a choice that hurts so much that Libra swore never to make it alone again, without first understanding all possible angles. And perhaps that's exactly what you recognized in yourself while listening to this list, because you too have your own gifts, and perhaps you've never stopped to ask yourself what wound they were born from. This is exactly the kind of question that the divine wisdom that guides your zodiac sign to a purposeful life helps to answer. The book brings together teachings, interpretations, and exercises designed for those who are ready to look beyond the surface, to understand that every gift has an origin, and that recognizing that origin is the first step to stop using talent merely to survive and start using it to truly flourish. If something in this paradox has struck you now, this is the moment to act, while the reflection is still alive within you, before routine stifles this rare clarity again. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. And perhaps that is the true blessing behind each of Libra's 5 gifts. Not the talent itself, but the courage to look at its origin without shame. The justice born from lived injustice, the charm born from the fear of being abandoned, the vision of both sides born from the fear of choosing, the beauty born from the desire to organize chaos, the bridge born from the loneliness of never fully belonging anywhere. Each wound, clothed in time and awareness, has become exactly what the world calls a gift. God didn't bless Libra despite the wounds. He blessed them through them. And perhaps that's the most beautiful message for anyone who carries similar gifts. They're not here to prove anything to anyone. They're here to remind us that even what hurts when faced with truth can turn into light. Libra isn't the sign of perfect balance. It's the sign that learned, pain by pain, gift by gift, to transform imbalance into beauty, and that, in the end, is a silent and definitive form of grace. There's a scene that sums it all up better than any explanation. Imagine a Libra, alone on any given night, after spending the entire day balancing everyone's peace around them, resolving disagreements at work, listening to a friend's venting, adjusting the tone of a difficult family conversation. No one saw the effort. No one asked how they were after making everyone feel better. And they sit down, alone, and finally allow their own imbalance to surface, without an audience, without needing to smooth things over for anyone. It is at this moment, and only at this moment, that the 5 gifts cease to be performance and return to what they always were: survival resources that with awareness can become healing resources. The difference between using a gift to please and using a gift to sustain oneself is subtle, but it changes everything. One version is exhausting, the other strengthens, and the turning point happens exactly the instant Libra stops asking, "What do others need from me now?" and begins, albeit tremulously, to ask, "What do I need from myself now?" Perhaps that's why, when you look at a Libra who seems to have everything under control, It's worth remembering that control was never the point. The point was always the journey. Each gift they carry represents a night when they decided not to let the pain win, but to transform it into something they could offer the world. This isn't luck. It's not random destiny. It's the most beautiful proof that there is an intelligence, divine if you want to call it that, or simply human if you prefer, capable of taking exactly what hurt the most and returning it as something that shines the brightest. And if you've made it this far, recognizing pieces of yourself in this story, perhaps that's the true blessing hidden within it all. You no longer need to hide where your gifts came from. You can simply be grateful that they survived and continue using each one to consciously build the beauty that was once just survival.